Make presenter button. Okay. Make presenter button.
సార్ స్ట్రీమింగ్ లో పెట్టచ్చా అండి ఇప్పుడు స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయమంటారా
హలో మేడం
హలో సార్ సార్ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేస్తే ఇచ్చండి
స్టార్ట్ చేసి పెట్టేసేయండి మేడం కరెక్ట్ గా 10:30కి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం
సార్ స్ట్రీమింగ్ లో పెట్టచ్చా అండి ఇప్పుడు
పెట్టండి మేడం
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయమంటారా
చేసేయండి మేడం
హలో సార్
మేడం
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేస్తే ఇచ్చండి సార్ మీకు
స్టార్ట్ చేయండి పెట్టేసేయండి మేడం కరెక్ట్ గా 10:30కి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం
సార్ స్ట్రీమింగ్ లో పెట్టచ్చా అండి ఇప్పుడు
పెట్టండి మేడం
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయమంటారా
ఓకే చేసేయండి మేడం
హలో సార్
మేడం
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేస్తే సార్ చెప్పండి సార్ మీకు
స్టార్ట్ చేయండి పెట్టేసేయండి మేడం కరెక్ట్ గా 10:30కి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం
వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా ఉంది కదా సార్ స్ట్రీమింగ్ లో పెట్టచ్చా అండి
మేడం వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయమంటారా
ఓకే చేసేయండి మేడం
హలో సార్
మేడం
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేస్తే సార్ చెప్పండి సార్ మీకు
స్టార్ట్ చేయండి పెట్టేసేయండి మేడం కరెక్ట్ చేసేయండి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం
వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా ఉంది కదా సార్ పెట్టచ్చా అండి
మేడం వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా
షేర్ చేయమంటారా స్ట్రీమింగ్
చేసేయండి
అవ్వలేదా హలో సార్ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేస్తే సార్ చెప్పండి సార్ మీకు
స్టార్ట్ చేయండి పెట్టేసేయండి కరెక్ట్ చేసేయండి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం
వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా ఉంది కదా సార్
మేడం వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా
షేర్ చేయమంటారా స్ట్రీమింగ్
చేసేయండి
Very good morning. I'm Dr.N.Leelavathi, working as Vice President of Academics in Godavari Institute of Engineering and Technology, Rajguru District, an autonomous institution. Firstly, I would like to thank putting up such a beautiful initiative for conducting online training programs. Third in Firstly, I would like to thank our educational Dr.N.Leelavathi, National Chairman, Godavari Chandra Reddy, for this wonderful idea, an autonomous institution. Firstly, I would like to for conducting online training programs. As the MS team, I would like to thank the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Yogi Doctor, to take up with the National Chairman, the Gold Godavari Chandra first by over the last 2 weeks, are help students understand any concepts which face any Yogi Doctor, you have a unique narrative has to be discussed by every class every day. Help students understand any concepts to space any function, then you can find the loop is ultra-fast end-to-end programming. This is reflected in macros. And then the workflow faster and scalability is high. Coming to C programming data structures, let us look at the weightage analysis in recent GATE examinations. In 2019, 20 marks, and 18 was 9 marks, and so on. So what we could see is that on average, at least 11
స్ట్రీమింగ్
marks
స్టార్ట్ చేయలేదు
are
మీరు క్లాస్ స్టార్ట్ చేస్తారా
from C programming.
ఇది పెట్టండి మీరు వేరే ఏం షేర్ చేయొద్దు
Expect
ఇప్పుడు మ్యూట్
that is
మ్యూట్ పెట్టేసేయండి సార్
5
యూట్యూబ్
to
లో
8 marks
మ్యూట్
of
పెట్టేసేసి
C
ఓన్లీ ఈ
programming.
స్క్రీనే ఉండాలి ఇక్కడ లేకపోతే
Okay,
స్టూడెంట్స్
so
కన్ఫ్యూజ్
this subject is
ఈ స్క్రీనే ఉండాలి ఇంకా వేరే స్క్రీన్ మనకు షేర్ కాకూడదు
important and you should understand the importance of the subject.
ఇప్పుడు వస్తాను చూడండి
The
సార్
topics that will be covered
వేరే స్క్రీన్ లో కంట్రోల్ అవుతుంది
are importance of C programming, developing programs in C, structure of C program, classification of data types, input-output functions, operators, and expressions. Let us see the important features of C programming. There are simple and efficient, speed of operation, modularity, structured language, portability, existence of libraries. It is very, very popular, dynamism, and case study. Let us see all these features one after the other as per the priority basis. The first one is the portability. That is, it becomes machine independent. That means if you design a program on one platform, it can be transferred to another platform, another machine also. If C is written in maybe the code blocks, you can run the same program with little modifications in Turbo C also. The second feature that we see is the modularity or the structured language. C is a structured language, programming language, in the sense we can break the program into parts using functions. So it is easy to understand and modify. Feature which we see is it is simple and efficient. C is a simple language, very simple to learn. It is structured language, where I told you that the problem can be divided into smaller parts. It has got rich set of library functions, data types, etc. The syntax of C programming is easy to comprehend and can be used to design applications that were previously designed by assembly language. The next important feature we can see is that it is the speed of operation. The compiler and execution time of C language is fast since there are lesser inbuilt functions and hence lesser is the overhead. Since it is a compiler-based language, it is comparatively faster and other programming object code, whereas an interpreter takes instructions by one instruction at a time from input and then generates the output but does not generate a file. So I hope you understand the difference between compiler and interpreter. The next thing that I can say is the popularity of C language. You all would have studied the C language in your first year, irrespective of the branch. All the students study C programming. It is of that important. Any programming, any problem solving can be started with C because C is a structured language where you can learn things in a structured way. It is one of the most extensively used language in the development of operating and embedded systems. It is needless to mention how popular it is. Next feature I can talk about is the existence of library. C language library has a wide range of built-in functions. Even the user-defined functions can be added onto the C library. It gives the user a wide latitude of scope to develop his own functions for implementing process and implementation. So C language has got inbuilt functions. Most of the mathematics library like allocation, the dynamism. So it supports features of the dynamic memory allocation, which helps in the utilization and management of memory. Among all the features of C, dynamism is unique. Suppose today you are designing a program related to the student attendance. In a class, you suppose that there are 60 students and you develop a module with the array capacity or the memory allocation for 60 students. But tomorrow, when the strength is increased or decreased, the same code has to be adaptable for increase or decrease in the storage capacity. To allocate more number of students, the code has to be replaced at many different places to understand the needs of the user. So hence, this dynamic memory allocation would definitely help in understanding the requirement which is given dynamically at time, and then applications would update as per the requirement. So the memory size, the memory utilization is being done in a better way, in an optimized way. There are certain functions like malloc, talloc, free, realloc. So we'll be talking about these functions in our future coming lectures. Most important thing of C language is that it is case sensitive. That means it treats lowercase and uppercase letters differently. For instance, if I declare the value x in lowercase integer type, it would annotate a different meaning altogether if I type capital X rather than a lowercase x. So C is case sensitive. This has to be remembered throughout our C programming. The next feature value in a way or the system to read those variables. So the speed of operation can be managed by use of pointers for memory, structures, functions, and arrays. Another important facility is recursion. In C, we can call the function within the function. It provides code reusability for every function. Recursion enables us to use the approach of backtracking C programming. These things are very frequently asked in all technical interviews when you say that your preferred language is C programming. So please remember these features for future reference. The C pros and cons, the advantages of C and disadvantages of C. Let us see that the advantages of C, it is very, very powerful, efficient, portable, as now we have discussed, built-in functions, quality to extend itself. It's a system programming facilities available, and it is also called as middle level language. Middle level language in the sense you can provide low level language features as well as the high level language features into C. Let me tell you what is high level language and what is low level language. High level language is a English like language. That is the text that we use in English statements are similar texts that are used for programming C language. Similarly, you can use C language for low level programming, that is system level programming, where you can use it for the design of drivers, system programming in the operating system. So when there are features clubbed together, the high level language features and low level language features, we call that the C language is a middle level language. Like any other language, C also has disadvantages. This is the beginning which was developed with C, and slowly they have improved the C to C++, where the disadvantages that I'm listing it here are added, are made available in C++. Let us look at the disadvantages of C. It is concepts of OOPS, object-oriented programming. There are no concepts of OOPS available in C language. That means like abstraction, inheritance, etc. So those things in C language. Runtime checking is also not possible. Concept of namespace, lack of exception handling, constructors, distractors are not possible. So they have to be taken care in a different. There are mainly three steps. First one is writing, second one is compiling, third one is executing. First basic step is to write the program. There is integrated development environment. You should also have the C compiler, assembler, and linker. C uses a semicolon as a statement.
Means is man of exception.
హలో మేడం. మేడం వాయిస్ వస్తుంది మేడం, ముందు వస్తుంది, చెప్పండి మేడం, అట్లా కంటిన్యూ చేయండి మేడం. చేయండి మేడం. కావడం లేదు మేడం, వాళ్ళ కామెంట్స్ పట్టించుకోవద్దు.
Sessions. Your main program where you have local declarations, your statements, and then main function, other functions as required. Here you see include stdio.h, which is a preprocessor directive, which includes standard input output functions in the program. And here you can see that the output is a hello world. The output is given out onto the screen. This is the comment statement, a block of comments. It is very important that when you have multiple lines to be commented, you have to put a use double star. It is not the syntax of C, but when we use double star, it will tell you that the comment lines will start with double star, and throughout the text you need not search for slash star and where it is ending another star slash. So whenever this double slash is indicated in your documentation, people will understand
lines to be
line to be commented, we will use double slash line. Let us look at the purpose of main function. The program execution function. Every C program must contain the main function. May contain any number of other statements that are executed in the sequential order, one after the other, which is written in the curly brackets of the main. It can in turn call other functions from the. There are two types of main declaration. One is without any arguments. Many of the times we program without any arguments. And the second method is with arguments. We will use arguments like argc, argv respectively to give the number and the value of the program's command line arguments. So we'll be using main with void. The parameters like argc, argv will be evaluated. Some basic rules of writing a C program needs to be understood. This is not only for C children, but the documentation, comments are really, really important for any program description. So please add on comments wherever it is necessary. And the proper documentation will lead the facility to other set of team which is working on your designed program. So adding comments wherever it is needed is a very important thing to be noted. As I told you, the C program must be terminated by a semicolon. There are certain rules for tokens, identifiers, and all, where we will be talking about those rules soon. And code indentation, although it does not affect the execution part, but proper code indentation in C language will give you a clear picture to the team working on the code. Let us see the data types. I'll quickly give an overview of it and elaborate on the integer, float, double. These things are very frequently used. The next classification is derived data types. Arrays, functions, and pointers. We will define those things in the program. The third category is user-defined data type, structures, unions, enumeration. And the fourth category is valueless, the void, which does not return any value. So basic data types all throughout our program will be using character, integer, float, double, and void. Let us look at the size and range of a data type. To explain this before, suppose you take up a memory. Suppose this is a memory. In that, you have taken, or your C program has declared variables as char C. It's a character C which is storing a value uppercase letter C. Then you also have declared int I is equal to some number, integer number. And you have declared a real number with float f is equal to some float value into it. This is written in your C program, suppose. Then a small block of memory is assigned, block named as C, and then it will contain the letter A stored in it. Somewhere else, you can see that another block of memory is given whose name, the variable name that is assumed it as I, and then the value that is contained in it is 45. This is what we have declared. Then we have declared the float. So we have a float variable whose name is given as f, and the value of it, you can say we have declared it as 23.87. So when you declare a character type, you see one size of variable placed in a memory location. When you declare it as integer, it is of a different size. Similarly, when you declare it as a float, it is of another size. So all the variables, all the data types will not have the same size to occupy in the memory. Character occupies 1 byte of information, whereas dependent, please remember, if you are using 32-bit computer, the space that is allocated is different from if you are using a 64-bit computer. So here I could tell you that the use of pointers, arithmetic, will be useful in such cases. We will elaborate more when we talk about the pointers. Okay, so understanding this concept in memory, let me get back to my presentation where we have different data types with different sizes and ranges. I have listed 16-bit computer and 32-bit computer. You can check upon your computer if you're of 64-bit, and now 128-bit computers are also available. So here we see that in both 16-bit computer as well as the 32-bit computer, the character size is always 8 bits only. I think you all know that 1 byte is equivalent to 8 bits. That means character data type will occupy 1 byte space in the memory. Then coming to integer data type, the integer values. In 16-bit computers, it is 16 bits, whereas in 32-bit computer or 64-bit computer, when you look at it, it is 32 bits. 32 bits in the sense it occupies 4 bytes of information, 4 bytes of memory space to store one integer value. Similarly, when we talk about float, double, and void type of data, there are different sizes mentioned in the table. We will explore them one after the other. Depending on these sizes, the range of the value that can be stored in the memory is also different. Suppose I have only 8 bits of space, then it is possible to store only numbers. If it is like unsigned, I can use negative values, I can use positive values, then I can store a range of values from minus 128 to plus 127. I'll elaborate a bit on this in further slides. We also have specifiers or modifiers. In addition, C has four type specifiers or modifiers, and there are three qualifiers. We usually know that modifiers are applied to int, but please remember, very important because many of the questions that are asked with modifiers applied to char also. Please remember it is allowed in C. You can have signed, unsigned char type declaration. In addition to that, you can declare long that can be applied to double. Long double is also possible. When the base type is omitted, like if I say long int and then declare the variable, I can also declare it as long variable name. I can eliminate the int portion of it. It is understood that when it is omitted, it is understood that it is integer type. Finally, the void data type does not have these modifiers. So whenever you see that the void type of functions or variables, when some modifier is added, you can say that this is not possible. Syntax error will be generated during compilation. Okay, so let us go into the details of what is a specifier. There are three types of specifiers. Size specifier, which will tell whether similarly you can go with sign specifiers, sign a positive sign, negative sign. You can call that number as signed number. And then you can also say that it is unsigned number also. Okay, so you have size specifiers, you have sign specifiers also. The third category is type qualifiers. Type qualifiers are constant, volatile, and restrict. Type qualifiers are three types. They are constant, there may be volatile, and restrict type. This is a complete combinations of. Just to understand the concept, I have listed out a table with 16-bit computer. See here you can observe that have negative values as well as positive values. If you specifically say it is unsigned character, then we have 0 to 2. You how these ranges are given. Suppose you have 3-bit spaces, that is 0, 0, 0. The numbers that are possible are 0, 0, 0, and then the next possible numbers, I'm just typing it here. So how many, for a given 3-bit, how many possible? I have decimal numbers written from 0000 to 999. That means there are 1,000 possible numbers. How did you get 1,000? It is 10 power 3. It is equal to 1,000 possible cases. When I say it's an unsigned number, that means I have all the values on the positive scale. Then I have numbers from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. If I say that we have numbers on both the sides, negative as well as positive, then we should divide this whole scale into two halves. That is, I will put a line here. Half of the values are assigned on a positive scale, half of the values are assigned on a negative scale. Let us assume that 0 at the beginning indicates a positive sign. 1 at the beginning of the number denotes a negative number. So how can I number this here? If I want to give a numbering, I can say that this is plus 0, although you don't have plus 0 or minus 0. But here we have considered we have the first bit is 1, therefore I will have to consider this. It is 0, 0, so I will write it as 0. It is minus 1. It is minus 2. And this is minus 3. What I would like to conclude is that when you have numbers on a positive scale, you will have numbers denoted from 0 to, if it's a binary, it is 2 power. The number of bits are b, it will be b, 2 power b, and then minus 1. So you will have a range of possible numbers that can be stored in that data type is from 0 to 2 power b minus 1. But 2 power b and then minus 1. If we have to denote positive numbers and negative numbers, then half of the numbers would be on positive half of the total possible numbers will be on the negative. Here you can see that out of 8 possibilities, 4 numbers are on the positive scale and 4 numbers are on the negative scale. Let us come back to the presentation. So here, when we have 8 bits allocated, we have minus 128 to plus 127. It is given by you have negative and positive numbers. Therefore, I have written it as the numbers will range from minus 2 power b minus 1 to plus 2 power b minus 1 minus 1. So for 8 bits, b minus 1 is 7. So if we calculate it, it will be minus 2 power 7, which is 128. Similarly, on the other side, 2 power 7 minus 1 is 127. Similar questions are also asked in GATE. With this concept, if you can answer those questions, it will be of great use. Similarly, if the number is only on the positive side, like I've explained you, if B is the number of bits that are allocated for a data type, then the range is from 0 to 2 power B minus 1. With these things keeping them into your mind, let us look at the other features also. When you see that the unsigned int, signed int, short int, unsigned short int are usually, the short int and int are usually of the same size in most of the machines. Int and short int will occupy same size. And when we talk about long int, unsigned long, signed long, and so on, they are of double the size of what the int is. Here in my example, it is 32. Then we have float. It is 4 bytes long, 32 bits is equivalent to 4 bytes. Similarly, the corresponding ranges. But these ranges float, double, and long. You have to remember them. It does not follow the rule which I have given earlier. So please look at these values and understand. Remembering these table is worth it. Let us do some analysis to the program. Suppose I give a as integer, storing some integer value in it, float f with some float real value in it, and then double. I'm trying to find out the size of the integer variable a, the size of the float variable, the size of the double variable. Size of is a function, or I can say it's an operator function, which will give you the result in terms. So when I execute this code, I see that object file is created, and then you can see it on the screen. The integer value, I could see it as 4. Float is also 4. This is my computer is 64-bit. Therefore, 32 bits are declared as integer. And float is also 4 bytes long. And the double is also a real number, which is of 8 bytes long. If I change it to long double, suppose I change it to long double, and then check what is happening to the output. Let me execute it again and then check. See, the size of long double is 12. So to check the size of the data variables in your computer, you can use the size of function and then check the size of data variables that are stored in it. Sometimes in embedded system programming, you need to identify the space that is occupied in your system. Let us look at the character variables. I have used character C and double quotes. I'm quoting it as A. And then I want to check what is the size of strings.
కరెక్ట్ అప్లోడ్ చేస్తే అప్పుడు అదే టైం
So
చూస్తుంది.
I'm using size of string here. See, we are trying to explain the basic concepts because you would have studied in first year, and this is like a brush up. And these lectures are being watched by thousands of students of different categories.
రిపోర్ట్ కొట్టింటాడు
We are trying to stress more
రిపోర్ట్
on the
కొట్టింటాడు
concepts of it. Okay, let me execute this function
రిపోర్ట్
and
కొడితే
let us see
పోతుంది.
the output. The size of the character is 1.
రిపోర్ట్
As you can also assign numbers, unsigned, signed numbers to the character. And then I would like to print this character C here. What would be printed? If I'm trying to print a character here, what is expected? Let us see and observe. When I'm giving an integer value of a character, what has been printed? The ASCII value of it should be printed. It is a tilde ASCII. Let me change the number and then check for other cases also. If I give 12 and then want to see which character is being defined for 12, the ASCII value, you could see a question mark over there. Let me check for negative values also. Can character C take integer numbers with negative values? Yes. Let us look at the negative values also. So minus 12 is giving a different character here. So all these positive and negative numbers, you can use it for character declaration. This will not give you an error. Let us use a number 128. And then try to execute it.
I request all the other members in the Google Meet to mute their systems
because it is creating little noise.
so you can see that negative members are also allowed. So this is one important point which you should remember, that when we assign a negative number or positive number, it is giving you one character from huge character set. Okay, let us talk in detail about the data types again. Floating point numbers are whole numbers with a decimal part. Another data type is a character data type, where you have all letters in single quotes. In single quotes, you talk that it is a character. Characters can be lowercase alphabets, uppercase alphabets, operators like positive, plus, minus, all the special symbols that are used, and then 0 to 9, all the numbers. Coming to string, you have to enclose it in double quotes. A string of characters, a stream of characters which are enclosed in double quotes, then you can say that it is a string. There is another variable, logical variable called Boolean. Lot of work is done in Boolean algebra to design systems. You would have studied digital logic design, where we talked about the Boolean algebra. So C also supports ones and zero, true or false, yes or no type of Boolean functions. Please take up this. I've given you a table with different data types, and please try to answer them. The first one is 17. Which data type it could be? Hope you are all familiar with this, so I'm giving you the answers here. The type of data is int, and it can also be unsigned int. So there are two possibilities. It can be either int or unsigned int. We have double quotes, and then you have George written in it. It is a stream of characters. The type is a string type. It's an array of characters. Then we have a real numbers, so I can say that they are float or double. Then we have a signed int. If you don't mention it as signed or unsigned, it is the default is a signed int only. So I can say this as int or signed int, doesn't matter. Then we have in single quotes one character, so I will call it as character. This looks to be a bigger number, so generally it is a float. For 16-bit computer, probably it could be a double. For lower bit computers or lower bit embedded systems, probably it could be a double type. See here, observe this. This is a number, a real number in double quotes. Whenever a character, special characters, numbers, anything is put in double quotes, it will act like a stream of characters. 0 and 1. It can be either int or bool. There are two types. It can be either integer type or a boolean type. It can be yes or no type. A very frequently asked question is that many of the papers I've seen earlier, what is the data type that is given for, and what is the difference between these three? 7 in single quotes and 7 in double quotes. I can say that this is a integer value, whereas when we place a number in single quotes, it will become a character value. Although it is a number, put in a symbol, it will become a character constant, usually a character. When we place the same number with two double quotes, then it is a stream of characters which I can call it as a string. String will have 7 followed by a backslash 0. That means it has got two characters in it. It is not equal to a single character in single quotes. Please remember, children, in C language, in Python, you don't see the difference, no? Like single quotes or double quotes. But whereas in C, single quotes is a character, double quotes is given for a string where you have two characters, although you are writing only 7, but any string will be followed by backslashes. We will talk about in detail when I take up sessions in strings. Hope these things are clear to you. Let us see the constants and variables. A constant data element would never change in the program. Once it is given, it has to be constant throughout the program. In an equation, look at the equation I is equal to j plus 7. Which one is a constant here? 7 is a constant here. Here, look at the another equation. First underscore letter is equal to single quotes A. Which one is a constant here? A is constant here. First letter can take different values. This is a constant. Similarly, let us see the variable. A valid variable can take different values in the runtime. You can assign different values to it. In this expression, I is equal to j plus 7, we see that j and I are variables, whereas 7 is constant. It cannot be changed. Similarly, a second letter here is a variable. Whatever you assign it to it will be stored in it. It's a variable. It keeps on changing with time and runtime. Values are assigned using a single sign equal. Read a statement like this: I is equal to j plus 7. And point to be remembered is variables in C must be declared before they are used. Let us look at the constant in C programming. See, a constant is a modifier is used here before the int value. Size of int when it is declared as constant will occupy either 2 bytes, 4 bytes, or 8 bytes depending on the system architecture of the memory. Okay, when you take the size of a constant int, you will see these things reflected. Let us look at a program. Here I have declared the value 2 to be a constant int. Constant int value 2 is 20. You have a printf statement to print the value. The expected answer is 20. Let us see what happens if I'm trying to change the constant value within the program. First I'm printing the value 2 here, and then I'm trying to change the value equal to 30. I've declared this value to be a constant, but here I'm trying to change it to 30. Therefore, you will see this type of error here. Assignment of read-only variable. It's a constant. I cannot make this variable to a new value. That is the importance of a constant. There are similar things that can be performed in C language, right? You can use a hash define function. Many a times in mathematical solutions, we would like to have some variables not to be changed during the program execution. I will declare the pi value is to be done before the main function. I will declare this as hash define pi is equal to 3.14. This is another way of declaring a value, and it will remain constant throughout the program. At some other point of time, if I want to change this value, I can change it only at one place instead of changing pi at different places in the program. I can do it only at one place. We will talk more on this in next coming lectures. In declaring of variables and data types, this is a common thing, so I'm not elaborating more on it. This, what you should understand is how many bytes of memory is set aside for declaration of int, float, and character. Let us see one program and please tell me what is the output of this expression. What is 6.5? Here one point is to remember that when I say 6.5, the default is it will take it as a float. When I give an integer value, it will give the size of an integer. When I declare it in a single quotes, it will give you the character size. Let us look at it. Why did I get 8? This is because in C language, 6.5, when I'm declaring 6.5, it is not taking as a float. Any constant like this in real number representation is represented as a double. This is a very important note that you should have. Any constant, when it is declared with a value, the real number, the default of C is that it is taken as a float. Such questions appeared in GATE examination. We will look into those examples also. These first two classes would be probably the basic fundamentals just to brush up your C programming expertise. And we will go deeper into the problems that have been arrived in the previous GATE examinations. So here you could see that it's a double, therefore 8 bytes, 8 into 8 bits, and next one is an integer, therefore it is 4, and the third one is a character, therefore only one byte is given. The size of operator will always give the result in terms of bytes, not in terms of bits. Please remember children. Hope you understood the data types in detail. I'm moving on to the next slide, that is, which talks about input output. You are all very familiar with printfs and statements. I'll give you little variations of it which would help you to analyze things in your competitive exams. Just briefly introducing a keyboard and monitor. Keyboard is an input device and the monitor is your output device. So you will be streaming text from the keyboard to the monitor. Let us look at it. So keyboard, the input text streams one after the other is going in the form of a data and then it is displayed onto the monitor. When we use printf to print an integer 2, 3, 4, the text stream goes, first 2 is 3 and 4 are transmitted and it is reaching to the destination. In this, we have to note that there are certain format specifiers, that is percentage %d, percentage %f, and so on. Please look at this quantity percentage %d here and then here percentage %f. I have also written it as dollar simple. I want to give the amount in dollars. When you enter the values 2348.53, you see that you will generate the output in this form. QTY colon in different character space, and then you have given a space, and then depending on the format specifier, you will get this number followed by quote, colon, and then the dollar symbol here, and then the number that is indicated is given. This is how the output stream goes. Format specifiers will have flag, minimum width, precision, size, and code children. So when you want to give the format to left justification, then we have to use a hyphen symbol. When you want to add extra zeros to the output, then we will add zeros. If a sign is to be given, then we should mention plus in the flag code. If nothing is mentioned, then positive values come out with no sign and negative values will pick up a negative sign. But specifically when you want the plus sign to be printed, the flag code in the printf format specifier should be mentioned with a plus symbol. This is for sign representation. And similarly, when you look at it, for short int, we have different format specifiers. And with practice, I think you would have got these things into your mind. Just remember, children, for long int, it is LL. For long double, it is capital LF. So these two things, which are not very frequently used, please remember these two so that you will not make any mistake in your exams. When you have a formatted text, formatted as left justified or adding the preceding zeros and all, it will be formatted and then given out. Please look at it. So two values are given out and then we have seen these spaces depending on the formats. This is a conversion specifier. And then let us look into the interesting part of it. Let us look at formatted input-output using printf and scanf. This function is used to print text. A very basic function. Everybody would be using it. So when I use a program like this, message 1, message 2, there are no new line characters, therefore the output is given in the same line. Usually when we write or look at the program code, then our mind will think that message 1 and message 2 are in a different line. Please observe for a new line character at the end of the string. If there is no new line character, then the output would be a string of characters coming from different printf statements. These are format specifiers, children. Character is given by %C, integer %D, unsigned integer, the unsigned integer, unsigned long is given by. These are certain escape characters. Suppose you want to print double quotes in the printf statement. If you type double quotes, it will not recognize it. It will think it as an end of the string. So to print the double quotes, you have to use backslash, an escape character. This slash is very important to print slash, double quote, single quote, question mark, any symbol like this. And these things have got different meaning. Backslash, as you all know, it's a new line character. It's used for tab and printer instructions and so on. Consider this example. This example, you see that there is an integer value 100, float value, and a character value. This is what I have executed. And what is being expected, children? So you will expect that the output would be the number 100 followed by 1.23, and then you have the character printed here. Did you observe these following zeros? In any float, any real number, after decimal, there are 6 positions that are printed out in default. And although given it as 1.23, but in the output, you observe that the total number is 6 digits that are taken in out. So whenever you choose your appropriate answer, please see that it is followed by 6 numbers. So when you want to pad these numbers, we have different methods. Left padding with spaces can be done like this. So you have A equal to, and for right padding, I have used format specifier minus sign. For right padding, you will get the answer like this. For left padding, left side alignment, you will see the answer, the output in this fashion. So whenever our numbers are given, usually we will go for left padding. Characters and all, we would like to wish it to be a right padded ones. Depending on your requirement, the UI requirement, then you have to give a format specifiers. This is an example to pad with zeros. Whenever I use 0 here, 0, 5 decimal places, then I will get 5 decimal places. The number is only 10, therefore it is padded by 3 more zeros. So in a printf statement, you can use the 0 and how many decimal places you want, you have to specify and then put a D for integer. So this is how it is written as percentage 05D. Again for float, if you want to see that here we have 05. Please observe this is important here. When I write 05F float, is a percentage F. I've written 5. This 5 will tell you about the minimum size that is to be occupied by a float number. Here I have 1.23. Already 23 is given. By default, I'll have 4 zeros. Then I have another character, dot, and then 1. Because this number is greater than 5, it will be printed as it is. So this specifier will tell us the minimum number. Everybody should remember the minimum number of digits that are to be present in the output. So there is no effect if I say 0.05. Many students try to cut this up to 5 digits and give the answer. That is wrong. This format tells that this is the minimum number that you have to take it. And then the next float value which we take it is 8.3. 8 is the total number of possible digits, including the decimal place. So here you see that there are 4 dot and 2, 3, 4, again 4 numbers. So the total size here, the minimum total size here is 8 and it should be padded with zeros. And after the decimal position, you should have only 3 characters. By default, it is 6 digits. But when I say 0.3, it is restricted to 3 digits only. Then we have 0.2f. 0.2, it means that only 2 digits have to be displayed. If you remember this example, probably you will not make any mistake during choosing your right option. So please remember 8 digits include digits before and after the precision also. So all the digits that are printed. Total minimum size. Formatting here, suppose I give a text to 1, it's an array, and then I'm putting it in double quotes. It's a string array. I'm giving 3 different texts. And then without padding, if I want to see the output, I can see the output like this. With left padding, you can see that the text is aligned to the left. Padding, use a negative sign here, minus sign here to see that they are right padded. This will help you to make proper alignment of your outputs. So you all know that the integer is plus d, octal number is percentage O, and hexadecimal is percentage X. So whenever you want to give the hexadecimal number, then we have to use small letter x to print the small hexadecimal numbers. When we give capital X, all the hexadecimal numbers will be displayed in a capital letter. Please look at the output here. When I used small letter, lowercase letter x, I could see that it is 7D6A. But when I use a capital letter here, I see that the output is displayed as capital letters. So the output depends on the lowercase x is selected or the uppercase is selected. Also observe that when I am giving percentage O, the octal value of this decimal number is printed out, not the same number. Similarly, when I am giving percentage X value here, the hexadecimal number is printed out instead of the decimal number that is typed here. So these notations are really important. Regarding scanf, we have to use the address operator here. Please remember, in scanf you have to use the address operator. This will take input. One important thing I would like to tell you while reading inputs as first integer float values followed by character. It is always important that you have to flush out all the integer values and then take the character value. To flush or clear input buffers, you have to use a flush string. If I remove it, I will get an error. So when we look at it, you will get the input value, whatever is typed there. It will take the integer, take the float, and then the character value. Another solution, like if I do the scanf function like this, when I take two integer float values and then the character value, you will see that the character value is missing. The integer float values are taken up, but the character value is not given. So this is a very important feature in scanf where you want to take the inputs as the numbers and then the character. You should always use F-flush and then you have to take the scanf value, or you take the scanf of character first followed by the integer float. It will not have any effect on it. This is the important thing which I wanted to elaborate in today's class. So printf with format specifiers, you can add zeros, you can add zeros in the beginning of the number to make proper alignment. You can make right justification, left justification, and so on. Similarly, for scanf, you have to be very careful when you are taking inputs from a combination of inputs like integer, float, and character. Try to read the character first and then followed by integer float values. If character has to be read at a later stage, then please use F-flush function. It's an inbuilt function. It is there in stdio.h, standard input output header file, and then F-flush it, and you can see that you will get the output properly taken. It is given out. C is also given out as G. So with this, I would like to end today's section, and I'll continue this section with some more interesting topics where I can elaborate on different things. Children, I have created a test, a small test, because you are all familiar with the basic concepts of C and you are ready for next year C programming or take examination in C programming, just take up this test. This test is open till 8 o'clock in the evening. Just take this URL and type it in your mobile or your browser of your laptop. You will start your test. You fill up all your details and enter the answers. You can also give feedback to this lecture. Hope you had good interesting points given in this lecture, and let us continue these sessions for further. So tomorrow again we will meet at 10:30. There are total 12 sessions that are going on. You can give your queries in the chat box, as well as there is one form given in your YouTube link. You can give all your comments into that Google form, and then later we will get back to you by rectifying all the transmissions and all. This is first of its kind where a huge audience are given chance to listen to. So probably there may be little issues in the beginning, but hope things will be all right, and we will try our best to give you the best inputs to cater to various kinds of expertise students, third and final year students, and then see that our sessions are done properly. Hope you have taken the screenshot or written this link. Those who are interested can give the test. This test is only of 15 minutes only, and you can add your feedback into this form. Thank you, children.